The flu continues to surge in Michigan after some record-setting days around the holidays. Take a look at this CDC map showing flu activity across the country. You can see Michigan is purple. That is the highest possible level. The states surrounding Michigan are either very high or high as well. I talked with Local 4's Dr. Frank McGeorge about what you should know. Dr. Frank McGeorge, our resident expert on everything, basically. But I do want to talk to you a lot about flu and vaccinations. Yeah. Every map that I look at right now is Michigan bright red, which seems like
actually purple.
Oh, we're purple
which is even
now.
worse.
Oh,
purple is worse than bright red. Yes, we are purple, which is the very highest level of influenza activity.
All right. So is this because it is just the season? Is it because there are less vaccinations? What's happening here?
So there's a few issues. First of all, we are purple earlier in the season than we usually are. Okay. I mean, oftentimes we get to purple. That's not uncommon. But to be purple this early is unusual, and that has to do with the circulating strain. So that's one. Vaccinations are another issue because vaccination rates have dropped, and so the flu is spreading more easily. That, of course, doesn't take into account for the fact that this year's flu strain also tends to spread a little bit more easily. Okay. So there's that compounding. And then, I mean, it's right after the holidays, and so, there's been plenty of opportunity now, right, for things to multiply and snowball even faster.
So if we turn purple this much earlier, do we have the possibility of getting out of the flu season earlier?
That's a great question that I don't have an answer to yet. Unfortunately, we don't know that answer until after the fact. We could stay purple for a really long time, and just a boatload of people, more than usual, are going to get infected over a longer period of time. So every year it's a little bit different. Sometimes we have a sharp upstrike, we peak, and then it just falls off. Sometimes we have a sharp upslope, and it just sort of stays steady for a while, and then it falls off. Sometimes we have a peak, and then it falls, and then it goes up again. So, we don't know what it's going to do. I can tell you that based on the rate of increase, the rate of increase this year has been faster than any increase in the last probably 20-something years. I mean, it's been a long time. Yeah. I mean, we, at Henry Ford, we reached a 33% positivity. So that basically means 1 in 3 people who were tested for the flu had the flu. We reached that rate like a couple weeks ago. So it just shot up like a rocket. The question is, again, how long it's going to stay at that high level.
But it's happening because this variant of the flu is just that much more transmittable?
Yeah, so H3N2 subclade K is what it is, and that basically...
It sounds fun.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's just super fancy. It makes me sound like a doctor. I didn't wear my stethoscope, so I just have to throw out fancy words to prove it. But basically what that says is that the version of H3N2, which tends to make people a little bit sicker by itself, subclade K tends to spread a little bit more easily. Now, some of that's because it's a newly mutated variety. So there are subclade, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and this is a new one, K. Our defenses, our own immunity has not been built up to K just yet. So K will spread a little bit more easily. Plus the vaccine was not perfectly matched to K. The vaccine was actually matched to H3N2J, which is what they thought was going to be circulating. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but suffice it to say the current version of H3N2 that is spreading more easily.
Now, in terms of symptoms, are you going to say the same things that are kind of flu-ish?
Yeah, so you are going to see pretty much the same things, cough, congestion, fever, body aches. Occasionally, it's, I don't want to confuse the stomach flu with influenza because they're very different, but occasionally influenza can also cause some GI upset, and H3N2 is known to do that because it does, again, generally cause somewhat more severe cases of the flu. But overall, the symptoms are going to be the same.
So if you think you have the flu, number one, when do you need to go see a doctor? When does it get to that point where it's like, this isn't a chicken soup kind of deal anymore?
So that's highly subjective. It's going to vary a lot depending on your underlying medical condition, for example. So if you're an older person that has heart or lung problems, you probably want to go in earlier than later because honestly, even if you were vaccinated and you get the flu, it is hopefully going to be milder, but on the off chance that it's not, we can give you antiviral medications like Tamiflu. If you're a small child, if you're an infant, and you are, or you're a parent of an infant, I should say, and your child is just sick, dehydrated, they look awful, they have a high fever, you probably need to bring them in because they may get dehydrated and need fluids. If you are an average aged adult or a teenager, it goes to basically how short of breath you are, how dehydrated you are, and how high your fevers are. And I say it that way because depending on how high your fevers are, you're not only more likely to get dehydrated, but it might also be an indicator that you have an other infection. So if you're coughing a ton and you're short of breath and you have a fever that lasts longer than it should, you may have an underlying pneumonia that has developed as a consequence of having the flu. So you have to look for a bunch of different things, but again, it's subjective. There are a lot of people who, they're just going to stay home miserable. It's just fact. But they can tolerate it at home. And we see a lot of those in-betweeners in the emergency department, and frankly, we send a lot of people home, but we also admit a fair number of people who come in for very good reason and are legitimately very sick.
So you talked about different variants here. Tamiflu, though, is still effective against them?
Yes, Tamiflu is actually completely effective against all of the variants, and I shouldn't say completely is very relative, because it has to be given within 2 days of onset for maximum effectiveness, but it is effective against them, and in fact, the flu variants, or the flu strains, I should say, that are circulating, whether it's H1N1, H3N2, or influenza B, those are all tested actually routinely against antivirals. And so far, nobody or none of them have shown an unusual resistance pattern.
You talked about vaccinations. Obviously, being vaccinated is the best defense. There are plenty of people who have chosen not to be vaccinated. What's your advice if you choose not to get vaccinated and then you do end up with the flu? What do you do?
So a couple things. If you do end up with the flu, I don't want to say shame on you. It was a bad choice, I'll just say that. Because getting a flu vaccine is a pretty straightforward thing. But really the idea is you want to make sure that you're staying well hydrated. You want to make sure that you're controlling your fever as best you can. And that's pretty much all you can do. I mean, there's over-the-counter cough and cold remedies, and they'll help the symptoms of the runny nose and whatnot. But the best thing to do is to have been vaccinated to begin with, so you don't get sick to begin with, or even if you do get the flu, you have a milder illness.
So your symptoms will be worse, right?
If you don't get vaccinated, people's symptoms tend to be worse to the point that they either get hospitalized or maybe more likely to die. So that's why we encourage vaccination, obviously. The thing that I want to really kind of emphasize as an unusual twist this year is, even if you have not been vaccinated yet, and so, right now we're at the beginnings of January, you should get vaccinated anyway, even though it seems like maybe we're into the flu season for a couple reasons.
We're already purple.
Right, exactly. We're all right. Why do it? We're already purple, right? Or maybe I've already had the flu, or I know somebody that's already had the flu, and maybe I've been touched by it. A couple reasons. One, flu season can go all the way into April, May easy. So, you've still got a few more months out there. But the other is, the interesting pattern we've noticed is H3N2 is spiking all over the place. We're seeing a ton of it. But the Henry Ford lab has actually seen an unusual amount of influenza B as well. And the take home is you can get both A and B in any given year. So even if you think you've had the flu already, getting vaccinated will keep you from potentially getting the flu again in the same year. So it's still, there's still plenty of time, and you should just do it this year.
Gotcha. Okay, Dr. McGeorge, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Pleasure.